When Alice Glick collapsed onto her church organ during Reverend Lovejoy's sermon, fans thought they'd seen this before. But what executive producer Tim Long confirmed afterward sent shockwaves through the Simpsons community, and the reason behind her permanent exit revealed something darker about how the show handles legacy characters. This isn't just another cartoon death, and by the end of this story, you'll understand why 34 years of history just got erased in the most unexpected way possible. The moment happened so casually it almost felt disrespectful. Springfield's first church organist, Alice Glick, was doing what she'd done for decades, playing those familiar hymns during Sunday service. Reverend Lovejoy was mid-sermon, building to one of his characteristically boring conclusions when a loud bang interrupted everything. At first, Lovejoy brushed it off as Alice being overzealous with the keys, maybe getting a little too passionate about the music. That's when everyone noticed her lifeless body slumped over the massive instrument. The congregation sat in stunned silence. Principal Skinner later introduced her at Springfield Elementary's memorial as a dead lady nobody really knew, which honestly captured the essence of how background characters exist in this universe. Cold, but accurate. Here's where things get twisted. Alice Glick technically died before, back in Season 23's episode, Replaceable You. A rogue robotic seal attacked and apparently killed her during that storyline. Fans watched it happen on screen. Yet somehow, she kept appearing in subsequent episodes, sometimes as a ghost, other times as a fully alive human being with zero explanation. The show never addressed this resurrection. She just existed in whatever form the writers needed for that particular Joker scene. This flexible approach to death in continuity became a running gag among hardcore Simpsons viewers who tracked these details obsessively. People joked about the robotic seal incident being non-canon, a throwaway moment that didn't count in the official timeline. Turns out, they were right to be confused.
Executive producer Tim Long finally put all speculation to rest with a statement that felt both poetic and brutally honest. He told media outlets that Alice the organist would live forever through the beautiful music she created, which sounds touching and sentimental, but then came the kicker, the part everyone remembers. In another more important sense, yep, she's dead as a doornail. That phrase, dead as a doornail, became the official confirmation fans needed. This wasn't another fake-out death. This wasn't a flexible narrative choice that could be undone next season. Alice Glick was genuinely, permanently gone from The Simpsons after 34 years of sporadic appearances. The character first appeared way back in Season 2's 3 Men and a Comic Book, an episode that aired in 1991. Bart Simpson worked odd jobs for Alice to earn money for a rare collector's item comic book. She was perfectly cast as the stereotypical grumpy elderly neighbor who made kids do back-breaking work for pocket change. The late Cloris Leachman originally voiced Alice, bringing that sharp comedic timing and distinctive voice that made the character memorable. When Leachman passed away in 2021, voice actress Tress MacNeille took over the role, maintaining consistency while adding her own interpretation. MacNeille voiced Alice in those final appearances, including the death scene that just aired. What made Alice's death scene particularly striking was how unceremoniously it happened. The episode titled Sashes to Sashes used her passing as a plot device rather than an emotional centerpiece. Within minutes of her collapse, the story shifted focus to what Alice left behind in her will. She donated her entire estate to Springfield Elementary, specifically requesting the money fund a new music program for students. This generous final gesture nearly got derailed when Mayor Quimby's son suggested throwing a 3-day music festival instead. Because, of course, corrupt Springfield politics would try hijacking a dead woman's wishes. Lisa Simpson wasn't having it, though. She dug into Quimby family secrets and convinced brother Bart to run for student council president against the younger Quimby. The plot spiraled into typical Simpsons political satire, with Alice's legacy becoming background noise to the main storyline.
Fans watching live had wildly different reactions, flooding social media immediately after the episode aired. Some expressed genuine sadness at losing a character who'd been part of the show's fabric for over 3 decades. Others felt confused, pointing out Alice had already died once before without it sticking. The robotic seal incident kept coming up in discussions, with people demanding to know why that death didn't count but this one supposedly does. A vocal segment of viewers appreciated the show's willingness to make permanent changes after 37 seasons on air. They argued keeping characters alive forever makes storylines stagnant and predictable. Killing off Alice represented The Simpsons trying to evolve and take actual risks with its established universe. The timing of Alice's death adds another layer worth examining. Larry the Barfly, another beloved background character, got killed off in season 35 just recently. Fans noticed a pattern emerging. The show seems committed to permanently removing legacy characters rather than keeping them in perpetual animated limbo. One viewer tweeted that, "First Larry, now Alice Glick. The Simpsons are killing off everyone." That sentiment captured growing concerns about which character might be next on the chopping block. When you've been on air for 37 seasons, your roster of characters becomes massive. Many exist purely for background color or occasional jokes. Deciding which ones stay and which ones go becomes a creative challenge that impacts how the show functions. But here's what nobody expected. The episode's casual treatment of death contrasted sharply with how The Simpsons handled previous character exits. Remember when Edna Krabappel got written off following voice actress Marcia Wallace's real-world passing in 2013? That felt respectful and emotionally weighted. When Maude Flanders died back in season 11, it became a major storyline that affected Ned for years afterward. Bleeding Gums Murphy's death gave Lisa one of her most touching episodes. Even minor characters like Rabbi Hyman Krustofsky received thoughtful send-offs. Alice Glick got maybe 5 minutes of screen time dedicated to her actual death, with the rest of the episode using her demise as a springboard for unrelated political comedy. Some fans found this approach refreshingly honest about how minor characters function in long-running shows. Others felt it diminished Alice's contribution to Springfield's community.
The decision to make this death permanent also raises questions about The Simpsons' approach to continuity. The show has always played fast and loose with timeline consistency. Characters don't age despite decades passing in real time. Major events get referenced or ignored depending on what works for individual episodes. Homer has held hundreds of different jobs. The family's history changes based on whatever flashback the writers need. This flexible continuity allows creative freedom, but occasionally creates confusion when the show suddenly decides something matters permanently. Alice Glick dying for real feels like a statement that some consequences will stick, even in a universe where consistency has never been a priority. Social media erupted with theories about why now, why Alice, why make this one permanent when so many other deaths got reversed or ignored? Some speculated the writing team wanted to clear space for new characters and fresh storylines. Others suggested this reflected reality catching up with animation, acknowledging that voice actors age and pass away, making certain characters harder to maintain long-term. A darker theory proposed that The Simpsons is preparing for its eventual ending by gradually reducing its character roster, making that hypothetical final season feel more manageable. Nobody knows which theory holds water, but fans love speculating about the deeper meaning behind creative decisions. The episode also featured Alice's most iconic moment getting referenced in discussions about her legacy. Season 7's episode where Bart tricks the church congregation into singing a biblical version of Iron Butterfly's In-A-Gadda-Da-Vida remains legendary among Simpsons fans. Alice's extended organ solo during that sequence became one of those perfect comedy beats that showcases why the show dominated television for so long. Viewers now look back at that scene with added poignancy, knowing it represents Alice Glick at her finest, completely unaware she'd eventually collapse over those same organ keys decades later in universe time.
What makes this situation even more interesting is how The Simpsons continues finding ways to stay relevant and generate conversation. Killing off a minor character who most casual viewers barely remember shouldn't be big news. Yet, here we are, analyzing every detail, debating whether it matters, discussing what it means for the show's future. That's the power of 37 seasons of cultural impact. Even small decisions become events worth examining because this animated family has lived in our consciousness for so long. Every change feels significant. Every loss hits differently when you've spent literal decades with these characters. Whether Alice Glick's permanent death signals a new era for The Simpsons or just represents another creative choice in a show full of them remains unclear. What we know for certain is that Springfield's first church needs a new organist, Springfield Elementary has money for a music program, and fans will keep watching to see who else might join Alice in cartoon heaven. The show that survived everything from changes in animation style to shifting cultural landscapes to countless predictions of its demise keeps finding ways to surprise us, even if sometimes that surprise comes in the form of an elderly organist keeling over mid-sermon. That's The Simpsons for you, still making choices that spark debate and drive conversation, one background character at a time.